Captain Iris Calloway's fingers danced across the console, her mind racing as the stars outside the Sovereign shifted to a blur of hyperspace. She hadn't slept in days, not since the first transmission came through, Earth's desperate warning to the Galactic Empire about the approaching anomaly. The message was simple, but the consequences were severe. The message was clear. If the Empire didn't act, the anomaly, the Devourer, would consume everything in its path, including Earth. But the Empire had laughed. Humanity isn't equipped to comprehend such things, the Grand Admiral of the Empire had said dismissively, waving off their transmission like an insect brushing past a boot. The anomaly is but a minor disturbance in the fabric of the cosmos. Your species is weak. Weak. Iris slammed her fist down on the armrest of her command chair. Weak. That's what they thought. The Empire, the so-called masters of the galaxy, believed that humanity was beneath them. But Iris knew the truth. She knew the terror the Devourer could bring. It was no mere anomaly. It was a weapon. A living weapon capable of erasing entire systems. And humanity was about to learn that the Galactic Empire had made a terrible mistake in ignoring them. The Sovereign wasn't much compared to the Empire's juggernauts. She was a small, experimental warship with cutting-edge technology, and she was humanity's last hope. Iris had commanded this ship through countless battles, always using her wit, her strategy, and her resourcefulness to get her crew through the impossible. But this time, the challenge was different. This is Captain Calloway. Status report, she barked into the comms. All systems are green, Captain, replied Lieutenant Ortiz from the engineering bay. We're holding steady, but we're pushing the ship to its limits. Iris nodded, though she knew the true test was coming. It wasn't the Sovereign's hull that she was worried about, it was the mindless force they were racing toward. The Devourer. Iris, we can't keep this pace, came the voice of Commander Pierce over the comm. We're burning too much energy. We'll have to slow down soon or we'll lose power entirely. Iris' mind raced, weighing the consequences. Earth was still thousands of light-years away from the anomaly, but she couldn't afford to wait any longer. If they couldn't reach the Empire's fleet, humanity's survival was all but guaranteed to become a tragic afterthought in galactic history. We're not slowing down, Iris replied firmly. We're pushing through. If we don't reach them, the galaxy will burn. We'll make it to the Empire's fleet first. If anyone can stop this, it's us. The crew was silent. They knew what this meant. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and their mission was a last-ditch attempt to convince the Empire they were wrong. And if the Empire didn't listen, if the Devourer wasn't stopped, it would be the end of everything. Ahead of them, the stars outside the viewport began to shimmer and bend. A rip in the fabric of space opened, and the ship jolted as they broke free from hyperspace. Now, we wait, Iris muttered under her breath. We wait for them to see what they ignored. The communications panel crackled to life, a steady, rhythmic beep signaling an incoming transmission. The Grand Admiral of the Empire. Iris sat straighter in her seat, eyes narrowing as the transmission flickered, and the voice of the Admiral cut through the air. Captain Calloway, you've made a mistake. We told you to stay out of our way. Iris' fingers tightened around the armrests, but she kept her voice steady. With all due respect, Admiral, I'm trying to save your life. The Devourer is real, and you're about to see it for yourself. The Admiral's voice was thick with condescension. Your Devourer is nothing more than an overblown celestial event. The Empire has already mobilized its finest fleets to neutralize it. You are not needed. Return to Earth and forget your baseless fears. Iris' gaze hardened, her jaw clenched. She wasn't going to let him win. She wasn't going to let humanity be ignored, not when their lives were on the line. You'll see, Admiral, Iris said coldly. You'll see just how wrong you are. And when that moment comes, you'll know it was humanity you underestimated. There was a brief silence before the Admiral's voice cut through again, tinged with disbelief. Do not make threats, Calloway. You'll find the Empire's fleets are beyond anything your little fleet can handle. The transmission abruptly ended, And Iris exhaled sharply, her fingers tapping the console. She turned to Pierce. "Prepare the fleet. If they won't listen, we make them listen," she ordered. "Aye, Captain," Pierce responded, her eyes meeting Iris with a steely resolve. "What's the plan?" "We'll approach them from the far side of their fleet," Iris explained. "We'll hit them where they're weakest. We'll make them see the threat they've refused to acknowledge. Then, we'll engage the anomaly. If the Empire doesn't back us up by then, they'll regret it." Pierce nodded. "Understood. We'll make it work." The journey to the Empire's fleet was long, the tension palpable as the crew prepared for a battle they weren't sure they could win. Every movement was calculated, every order precise. Iris knew the stakes. If the fleet wasn't ready, if they didn't respond, humanity's last hope would be extinguished. But she had one thing the Empire didn't, the unbreakable resolve of the human spirit. Hours passed, and then came the flash of light, the sudden appearance of the Devourer on their sensors. It was massive. The size of a galaxy, it seemed. It was a twisting mass of dark energy, its core pulsating with a rhythmic, unnatural glow. The Devourer was here. Iris stared at the readings, her heart pounding. The anomaly was closing in, its pull already distorting the space around it. The Empire's fleet was still ahead, unaware of the incoming destruction. And still, they refused to listen. "Admiral, I hope you're ready to admit you were wrong," Iris muttered under her breath as she gave the order. "Engage." The fleet fired, breaking the silence of space. But it was too late for any of it to matter. The Devourer had arrived, and there was no turning back. As the Sovereign neared the Empire's fleet, Iris could feel the tension in the air. The crew worked in perfect synchronization, but there was a silent understanding that they were outmatched. The Empire's armada, hundreds of ships, each bristling with firepower and technological superiority, was beyond anything Earth could have mustered. But Iris was not deterred. She trusted her crew, trusted their ingenuity. And she knew this was their only shot. "Captain, we've reached the coordinates. The Empire's fleet is in sight," Lieutenant Ortiz's voice came through the comms, steady but laced with anxiety. "Should we signal them?" Iris glanced at the vast array of ships on the screen, each one a colossal symbol of the Empire's unshakable dominance. They didn't stand a chance against them in conventional combat. But they were going to fight, not with power, but with strategy. "No signal. We're going in hot. Prepare the pulse cannon. Aim at the lead flagship. We'll give them a demonstration," Iris ordered, her voice sharp. She turned to Pierce, who was manning the tactical station. "Have our flanking forces move into position. Stay out of their primary range, but close enough to strike if they react." Pierce nodded. "Understood, Captain. We're ready to make our move." As they approached, the Empire's fleet seemed oblivious to the incoming threat. Iris' tactical genius was already at work, and her fleet had moved into a position that would make their assault feel like an ambush. The Sovereign's advanced stealth technology had allowed them to get this close without detection, at least, not yet. "Captain, the Empire's fleet is beginning to mobilize." "They're not reacting to us yet," Pierce reported, eyes scanning the readouts. "They're too confident. They think we're nothing." Iris smirked. Confidence is a dangerous thing, she thought. The Empire had made the fatal mistake of underestimating humanity. "Don't worry, Pierce. That's exactly how we want them to feel," she said. "Now, light them up." The Sovereign's pulse cannon roared to life, sending a massive burst of energy hurtling toward the lead flagship of the Empire. The blast slammed into the ship's hull with a resounding shockwave. For a moment, it seemed like the attack had done little more than rattle the flagship. But then, the Sovereign's sensors picked up something different. "Captain, the pulse hit. Something's not right," Ortiz reported. "What do you mean, not right?" Iris demanded, her fingers moving swiftly over the controls. "The flagship, it's not responding. The energy pulse, it's destabilizing their systems," Ortiz replied, eyes wide. The pulse, it's actually disrupting the quantum field surrounding their ship. Their shields are failing. Iris' eyes widened. She had expected a reaction, but not this. The Empire's greatest weapon, their shield technology, was designed to withstand nearly any attack. But this was different. The Sovereign's pulse cannon was based on a human breakthrough in quantum mechanics, one the Empire had never anticipated. "Captain, their fleet is in disarray," Pierce exclaimed. "The flagship is going dark, and other ships are scrambling." They didn't expect this. Iris smiled, but there was no time for celebration. This was only the beginning. "All forces, engage. Take out the perimeter ships first. We need to keep them from forming a counterattack," Iris ordered, her tone unwavering. The Sovereign's fleet moved into action, launching a coordinated strike on the outermost ships of the Empire's armada. Iris had known that a direct assault would be suicide, but they had to take the initiative. And now, with their shields compromised, the Empire was vulnerable. The sound of energy blasts filled the comms, the sudden violence of space combat setting a frantic rhythm. The Sovereign's small fleet, 4 ships in total, moved like a swarm, dodging incoming fire while returning fire with deadly precision. The Imperial ships, although formidable, were not prepared for this kind of attack. They were too rigid, too slow to adapt. "Shields holding strong, Captain," Ortiz called out. "We're taking hits, but we're holding firm." Their response is chaotic. "It's working." Iris remained focused on the battle unfolding before her. The flagship of the Empire, though still massive and powerful, was clearly rattled. The other ships in their fleet were attempting to rally, but the pulse cannon had already dealt a crippling blow to their strategic coordination. "This is our moment," Iris murmured under her breath. "They may think we're outmatched, but humanity has never backed down from a fight. Not this time." Then, suddenly, the comms came alive with an urgent message. It was from the Empire's Grand Admiral. "Calloway, what have you done?" The voice was filled with rage and disbelief. "You've disabled my fleet. You've made a mockery of our superiority. You will pay for this." Iris didn't flinch. "This isn't about paying for anything. This is about survival. You failed to listen when we warned you about the Devourer. Now, look around you. You're losing. And the anomaly is coming. It's not just an event anymore. It's a force. A living, breathing weapon that you can't defeat with your fancy fleets." The Grand Admiral's voice crackled with anger. "This is an embarrassment. You are nothing but a thorn in the Empire's side. You think you can stand against us? You are human, Calloway. A species too insignificant to matter." Iris' lips curled into a smile. "We'll see about that, Admiral. Because you just made the mistake of forgetting one thing about humans." "And what is that?" the Admiral snapped. Iris' voice was steady, unwavering. "We never give up. Ever." Before the Admiral could respond, the sound of an incoming transmission interrupted. It was a deep, otherworldly hum, a sound that filled the comms, thick and unsettling. The Sovereign's sensors flashed red as the Devourer, the true enemy, made its presence known. "The Devourer, it's here!" Ortiz shouted. Iris turned to face the view screen, her blood running cold as the anomaly appeared on their sensors, a massive, swirling mass of dark energy that dwarfed even the Empire's fleet. It was a force of nature, something beyond the reach of any technology, beyond any army. The stars themselves seemed to bend and warp around it. "Get ready!" Iris shouted. "The Empire may have underestimated us, but this is bigger than any fleet. We have to stop this, now." The Sovereign's fleet was now the only line of defense between the Empire's pride and the oncoming annihilation. The Grand Admiral's fleet was in chaos, but they didn't realize the real threat was not the humans, no, it was the Devourer. Iris's heart raced. "If the Empire won't listen, we'll make them see the truth. We'll show them what happens when you fail to respect humanity." The battle had only just begun, and already, Iris knew, this would not be a fight for survival. This would be humanity's finest hour. Iris stood motionless, her gaze fixed on the anomaly in front of them, the Devourer. It was a vast, swirling mass of dark energy, stretching across the vastness of space like a living, breathing creature. It seemed to pulse with an eerie rhythm, as though it had a heartbeat. The once imposing Empire fleet, despite its size, was now irrelevant. What was in front of them wasn't just a celestial event, it was a weapon, a force of nature, one that no technology, no military might, could hope to combat. "We don't have much time," Iris muttered under her breath, though she knew the words weren't really meant for anyone else. They were meant for herself. The Devourer was here, and if she failed, it would consume everything in its path, starting with the Empire's fleet, then Earth. "Captain, it's coming closer." Ortiz's voice crackled through the comms, urgent and tinged with fear. "The anomaly's energy readings are off the charts. It's destabilizing the entire system. Our fleet can't hold out for long if it keeps advancing." Iris didn't need to be told. She'd known from the moment the Devourer had appeared on their sensors that this was the beginning of the end. If she couldn't stop it, there would be nothing left. No Earth. No humanity. No legacy. "I know," Iris said, her voice cold and steady. "We're going to give them a taste of what's coming." She tapped a command into the console. The Sovereign's pulse cannon hummed to life again, but this time, the weapon wasn't aimed at the Empire's fleet. No. This time, they would target the heart of the Devourer. She had to disrupt it, had to buy them time, enough time to figure out how to defeat it, or at least escape with what remained of the fleet. "Captain, the anomaly's shifting. It's adapting. It's not just a passive force, it's alive," Pierce said, his voice tense as he read the data streaming across his console. "Whatever it is, it's intelligent. It's reacting to us." Iris clenched her jaw. The Devourer was learning. Evolving. Just like us. "That's what makes it so dangerous," she said, her eyes narrowing. "But we've got something it doesn't have. We've got human ingenuity, and we've got each other." "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal," Ortiz said. "It's from the Empire fleet." Iris stared at the screen. It was a familiar frequency, but the signal was weak. Almost desperate. The Empire was finally realizing they were in over their heads. "Put it through," she ordered. The image of the Grand Admiral flickered onto the screen. His once proud expression was now a mask of panic. "Calloway, you need to stop this, now. You've destabilized the fleet. We're losing ships. This anomaly, we can't control it. It's destroying everything." Iris didn't flinch. The sight of his panic wasn't enough to make her hesitate. "You should have listened when I warned you. But you thought you knew better." The Admiral's voice quivered, an edge of desperation creeping in. "We were wrong. Please, Calloway, help us." "I didn't come here to help you," Iris said, her voice cutting through the static. "I came to stop this before it reached Earth. You'll have to figure out how to survive on your own." Before the Admiral could respond, the transmission was cut off, replaced by a flood of garbled static. The Devourer was growing stronger, consuming the communications network, blocking all frequencies. The Empire's fleet was slipping further into chaos. "Captain, the anomaly is pulling them in," Ortiz said, a note of awe and fear in her voice. "It's already started erasing their ships. There's nothing left of the fleet. They're just vanishing." Iris turned to Pierce. "Is the pulse cannon ready?" "Yes, Captain," Pierce responded without hesitation. "Good," Iris said, her gaze fixed on the anomaly. "Let's make this count." The pulse cannon's energy swelled to its maximum capacity. Iris felt a wave of power surge through the ship as the weapon charged. If they couldn't stop the Devourer now, if they couldn't strike at the heart of it, Earth would be the next victim. And if the Empire wanted to survive, they had better get their act together fast. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The cannon unleashed a concentrated burst of energy that ripped through the fabric of space, aimed directly at the heart of the Devourer. For a moment, it seemed like the entire universe had held its breath. The pulse slammed into the anomaly, creating a blinding flash of light. The Sovereign shuddered under the force of the impact, but Iris held her ground, her eyes locked onto the swirling mass of energy before her. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The Devourer pulsed violently, as though it had been struck by a force it hadn't anticipated. For a split second, it faltered, its core flickering like a dying star. But then, just as quickly, it adapted, shifting and twisting as if the energy blast had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. No. Iris breathed, watching as the Devourer continued to grow, the disruption from the pulse fading into insignificance. It's not enough, Ortiz said, the disbelief clear in his voice. We're not making a dent. It's not stopping. Iris gritted her teeth. She hadn't expected it to be easy. The Devourer wasn't just a celestial event, it was an entity, a force that was adapting at a rate no one could have predicted. But that didn't mean they were out of options. Switch to Plan B, Iris ordered, her mind already racing through possible contingencies. We're going to take it head-on. Pierce stared at her, unsure. Captain, this is insane. We'll never survive that thing. Not like this. Then we die trying, Iris said, her voice cold and resolute. No one gets left behind. The Sovereign turned toward the Devourer, its engines roaring as they pushed the ship forward, straight into the heart of the swirling chaos. There was no turning back. The anomaly's gravitational pull was already beginning to affect the ship, the very fabric of space warping under its influence. We're in its range, Ortiz reported. The ship's stability is compromised. Steady, Iris commanded. We keep pushing forward. Fire all remaining pulse bursts. We're going straight for its core. The ship groaned under the strain as the crew worked tirelessly to direct every ounce of energy toward their offensive. The Sovereign fired burst after burst at the anomaly, each shot causing the Devourer to writhe in pain, but none of them were enough to halt its advance. Iris knew that they couldn't win with brute force alone, they needed something more. The only thing left was to get close enough to the Devourer to launch a final attack. The final gamble. We're almost there, Pierce called out. Just a little more. Hold steady, Iris muttered. Hold steady. But then, just as they neared the core, the anomaly did something Iris hadn't anticipated. It extended tendrils of dark energy, reaching out like tendrils of a spider's web, pulling the Sovereign in faster than she could react. We're losing control. Ortiz shouted. It's pulling us in. Iris' grip tightened on the command chair. Not yet. She slammed her hand down on the final control, triggering the ship's last-ditch defensive maneuver. The Sovereign's engines surged one final time, propelling the ship straight toward the heart of the Devourer with every ounce of power they had left. The final attack was coming. And it was now or never. Iris stared at the swirling mass of the Devourer, its tendrils tightening around the Sovereign with an almost sentient hunger. The ship groaned under the immense pressure, her crew working frantically to keep control. Time was slipping away. The anomaly was not just a cosmic phenomenon, it was a predator, and they were the prey. No longer was there a question of defeating it. The question now was whether they could escape with even a sliver of hope intact. We're getting pulled in too fast, Captain. Ortiz shouted over the screeching of the ship's hull. At this rate, we'll be consumed before we even reach its core. Iris glanced at the view screen. The Devourer loomed larger with every passing second, its black mass stretching like an endless void, ready to swallow them whole. It had to be stopped. It had to be destroyed. But the realization hit her hard, there was no backup. There was no second chance. They were humanity's last stand. Keep pushing, Iris said, her voice steady despite the chaos. We need to get closer. Full thrust to the forward engines, give everything we've got left. Captain, I'm not sure we can sustain this. Pierce protested, looking over his readouts with wide eyes. We're losing power, and our shields are failing. If we don't pull back. I said keep pushing. Iris barked, cutting him off. We don't stop until we've done everything we can. Earth is depending on us. The crew fell silent. No one questioned Iris' resolve. She had led them through impossible odds before, but this was different. The Devourer was an enemy unlike anything they had faced. It wasn't just a foe to be beaten in battle, it was a force that could erase existence itself. "Captain, I'm picking up a message from the Empire," Ortiz said, breaking the silence. "It's a high-priority distress signal. It's from the Grand Admiral. He's calling for aid." Iris gritted her teeth. She had hoped the Empire would see their mistake, but not like this. They were too late. The anomaly wasn't something they could run from. It was too powerful. The Empire's fleets were already being wiped from existence. Now, all that was left was to face the inevitable. "Patch it through," Iris ordered. The image of the Grand Admiral flickered on the screen, his face pale, sweat dripping down his forehead. His composure was shattered, replaced with a raw urgency. "Calloway. I know I was wrong. Please, you've got to stop this. We're losing everything. We can't fight it. It's too much. We need help." Iris' gaze never wavered. She had known this moment would come. The Empire was proud, blind to anything but its own power. They had dismissed Earth's warnings as a joke. Now, in the face of annihilation, they were begging for a lifeline. "We're the ones who warned you," Iris said, her voice low but firm. "You mocked us. Now look where we are. There's nothing left for you, Admiral. If you want to survive, it's on your own terms. This is our fight, not yours." The transmission sputtered as the signal was lost, replaced by static. The Grand Admiral's image flickered one last time before disappearing. There was nothing more to say. Earth's last hope had always been humanity's own resilience, not the Empire's. Iris turned her attention back to the Devourer, its pull now so strong that the Sovereign's hull was beginning to warp under the strain. The stars outside distorted, bending in unnatural ways as the ship was drawn deeper into the anomaly's grasp. "Brace for impact," Pierce shouted, his voice strained with panic. Iris felt the ship lurch as the pull intensified. The energy levels were fluctuating wildly, and the Sovereign was fighting against an invisible force stronger than any gravitational pull they had ever encountered. The ship was beginning to fall apart. There was no time left. "All hands, prepare for emergency evacuation," Iris said, her voice calm, though the words stung with the weight of their meaning. "This is our final push. We do not retreat. We hold the line until the very end." Her words reverberated through the crew, each one knowing they had given everything. They had no more tricks up their sleeves, no hidden weapons. They were humanity's final defenders. The rest of the galaxy had already been lost. Iris stood tall, her eyes fixed on the heart of the Devourer. It was now or never. "Engage the final sequence," she commanded. "Captain, you're not suggesting we," Pierce started, but his voice faltered. He knew what she meant. "Yes," Iris said. "We make it count. We sacrifice the core. We overload the pulse cannon. We force the anomaly to collapse. This is the only way." There was no response. None was needed. The crew understood. Every one of them knew the cost. They had always known that the fate of Earth, of humanity, would rest on a single act of courage. Iris turned back to the console, her fingers flying over the controls. The energy readings spiked as she initiated the sequence. The ship groaned beneath the strain, and she could feel the Sovereign shuddering as its systems overloaded. The pulse cannon hummed to life once more, its energy building to catastrophic levels. "Iris," Pierce said quietly, his voice filled with disbelief and fear. "If we do this, if we release all the power into the cannon, we end it. Or we die trying," Iris finished for him. The Sovereign shuddered again, its shields flickering weakly as they began their final, desperate charge. The ship was beginning to break apart around them, but Iris didn't flinch. This was the only way. The Devourer's center was now visible, its black core pulsating with terrifying energy. It was now or never. They had one chance to stop it, and this was it. "Fire," Iris ordered. The pulse cannon erupted with a deafening roar, a blinding flash of light shooting toward the heart of the devourer. The entire ship was racked with the force of the explosion. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the hull creaked as if it were about to collapse entirely. For a moment, there was nothing. Just the emptiness of space. Then, slowly, the distortion in the stars began to subside. The devourer trembled, as though something was breaking inside it. The black mass writhed, its core flickering violently. "Captain," Ortiz whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. I think it's working." Iris didn't let herself hope just yet. The pulse cannon had hit, but there was no guarantee. The anomaly could still resist. It could still survive. The devourer shuddered again. The mass began to collapse in on itself, its tendrils unwinding, as if recoiling from the blast. The stars around them began to shine brighter, their light returning to normal as the distortion slowly faded. It was working. For a brief, breathtaking moment, Iris allowed herself to believe that they had succeeded. And then, just as quickly, the anomaly gave one last, violent convulsion. The ship rocked violently, and the comms exploded with static. "Captain, it's too late," Pierce screamed. But Iris knew better. She had done everything she could. And in that final act, humanity had proven its worth. The devourer collapsed in on itself, imploding into nothingness. Silence. The galaxy was saved. At least, for now. But as the ship was consumed by the darkness, Iris knew this was only the beginning. The war with the galaxy was over. But humanity's fight would continue.